You said there's diversity in the BOLO list, and you admit that conservative groups were on the BOLO list. Why is it that we don't know whether or not there were progressive groups on the BOLO list?
Well, we do know that the word progressive did appear on a set of BOLO lists. We do know that. When I was articulating the point about diversity, I was trying to capture that the types of political organizations that are on these BOLO lists are wide-ranging. But they do include progressive.
But, you know, we seem to know what a conservative is, but people, how come progressive now becomes diversity instead of what it is? It's groups that are considered to be liberal as opposed to the Tea Party that's considered to be conservative. Is that correct? Fair?
I think it's fair.
Okay, as long as it's fair, then why are you having a problem with the chairman? Couldn't you say that in determining whether there was abuse of the provisions of the Internal Revenue Code, the staff were looking for signals for organizations, whether they were liberal or whether they were conservative, and the methods they used were not appropriate. Is that a fair statement?
I don't want to jump to a particular conclusion.
Well, what part of that statement gives you a problem?
Well, because where we are right now in our review is we understand that these political labels of varying types were on the BOLO lists. And we understand—
Tea Party is a type, right?
Yes.
Can you give me a type of name that would describe a progressive, democratic, liberal organization?
That's where, I mean, the word, and this is where I reach my conclusion that, that there's broad range or diversity in the political groups, because there are some that are more on the obvious side of the spectrum, like Tea Party.
That's good enough for me. You're saying that there are groups that you can say are progressive groups.
I would put them in three categories. There's one that are clearly on the conservative end of the spectrum, some that are clearly on the liberal end of the spectrum, and then there's a set of groups where it's difficult to determine on the facts where they would land on that spectrum, and maybe they don't land anywhere on that. Well, maybe they land right in the middle.
That just makes so much sense. And so far, even though you don't like the technique that was used, you don't find that there was any deliberate political attacks made. It was just that they were trying, based on what you know now, they were trying to do their job and they didn't do it in the right way.
Yeah, my position is that the way in which this should be structured, it should be looking generically at political activity and not using labels that point towards particular political persuasions, because that's inconsistent with the IRS mission statement for how we're supposed to do our work.